What is going on, guys? We've got a very special episode this week for you. Can't wait to introduce this man in just a second. Let's hop right into it. So what is going on? Welcome to the episode this week of the Start, Build, Grow Show. I have a very special guest with us, Mr. Matt Danskin. He is with Restoration Referral System, and also a guy that's been in the industry for a while doing things very unique, in a very unique way, especially around the insurance game and making relationships. And we're going to get into all that today. So make sure you stick around for all the gold nuggets for this episode, because we're going to get into some good stuff here. So appreciate you joining the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So what we usually do is we kind of get this thing going as we talk about, kind of the journey of what led you here, and, kind of give us a little bit of your backstory so we kind of understand, who Matt is and like what brought you here, what created the idea of the Restoration Referral System and all those types of things. So we'll just let you kind of share a little bit of your story.
Yeah, so depending on how far back you want to go, like I started in construction as like a toddler, just kind of hanging out with my dad while he was in construction, and he would build homes, and I got, fortunately, I didn't feel so fortunate at the time, but like got to learn how to build a house from footers to shingles growing up, and probably my biggest experience of that was in high school. Built a house, did a lot of that work myself. So like I was just raised in construction, and went to college for business administration, got out, and right at the housing crash, wasn't really a great time to get into construction. And so I got into like different sales careers, sold cars for a while, did door-to-door alarm sales, I did all sorts of stuff like that. And I feel like I got a lot of experience in the sales, and learned a lot of sales techniques and principles and stuff like that through that. And then I got back into construction. I was like, I do sales, I do construction, and kind of merged the two together. So that was here in Denver. I was doing new builds, remodels, additions, pop tops, dig outs, like you name it. And it's stuff that I kind of specialized in, like higher end, like more complicated projects that a lot of guys didn't know what to do.
Yeah, sure.
And really liked that, pretty well at that. But then I discovered roofing, and I was like, wait a second, the projects take like a day or two instead of like 4 months of coordination and all the things that can go wrong, and like margins about the same for what we were doing. But insurance company's going to pay for 90% of the bill. Like how? Like I was used to like being like, hey, we're gonna do this kitchen remodel. It's gonna be $100,000. Give me $100,000.
Little different sell.
A lot harder sell than, hey, $15,000 roof. Give me $1,000. And so I was like, that's kind of where I want to go. And
What year was that?
2017.
So yeah, relatively.
Yeah, not all that. Well, no, maybe might have been 16. Yeah, so around there.
It's still in the decade.
Yeah. Yeah. And so really just dove into that and selling roofs.
So what led you to, obviously, in your experience, right, from selling roofs and getting out of more of the GC style work and stuff like that, which is cool that you have that skill set. I mean, I'm not a guy that grew up around it, ever was birthed into it, but I've kind of accumulated a bit of a skill set for doing some of that stuff. And if my buddy's watching, we're actually building an extension of inside my shop, building like offices out and stuff. We put our hands to the lumber and doing that, so it's cool. You get to learn some of that, along the way. I'm sure you can build far better than I can, but in terms of being able to go from there and then getting into roofing and then finding your niche inside of like the insurance part of our industry, right? Which obviously it's been a little bit of a little bit different probably since even 2016, 2017 when you first got in. But what like led you to I've got this system, I've got it figured out. Like, was it more of just this like aha moment? Was it I, had done all this groundwork and made these relationships and nobody else was really doing it at the time? Because I know in Restoration Referral System that a lot of that conversation is about, the relationships you're making with insurance agents and other folks that could be involved in those types of, catastrophe type events. You want to have that Rolodex, right, of people that you're going to be calling on and that they're going to be referring to. So, and I don't know, I've been in your system before outside of knowing the high level of it, right?
Sure.
But just in terms of some of the proprietary stuff or some of the things that are unique, like, I guess, is that stuff that you got mentorship from? Is that stuff that you just learned along the way and compiled the information and like tell yourself?
Yeah, I think it's probably 100 different things that I've learned over the years, kind of piecing together different pieces of it. The first thing was like I was selling in a bunch of different ways. I was knocking doors. We were buying telemarketing leads. We were doing online leads, like social media, like BNI. I was doing everything, and I realized that was way more profitable and efficient if I could work with an insurance agent who's recommending me, so I'm going to close it at a better rate. Like, I'm a pretty good salesperson, but if you're referred, like, it goes way up. Yeah, it doesn't matter, good, bad, whatever. You're going to do better there. And also, just in terms of like the spectrum of good insurance companies versus bad insurance companies, it's a totally different experience. It's so much more work and effort to get paid less money from a bad carrier. And so I was like, nothing else that I'm doing, I can like target those good carriers. I can't target those good carriers with online ads or whatever. Like, hey, online ads, there's nothing wrong with it.
No.
But like, that's where I found like my efficiency sweet spot. And so it was a lot of just trial and error. A lot of people are like, oh, like, you're so smart to like, figure this out. And it's like, no, like I just failed way more times than most people try. And
I call it failing fast, learning faster, right?
Yeah, like you ever read Talent Code?
I haven't read that book.
It's a good book.
Talent Code, write it down.
Talent Code, yeah. Check that one out. But one of the things it talks about is like getting a lot of reps.
Yeah.
Right, and like you can accelerate talent so much faster.
You're just not.
It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be a rep. You have to analyze like what went wrong, what went right. Let's correct it. Let's do another rep. Like, and so like I would meet with 2-3 insurance agents a day. Like 5 days a week, and that's even now if they train people and just equipping them, very few people are doing that. And I was mostly failing, like mostly going in like 1 out of 10 actually said their daily business, and it was a matter of just like testing, like, okay, if I talk about this, like having conversations with people, like, hey, what is important to you, Mr. Agent? Like, why are you referring the guy you're referring right now? And just kind of piecing together, all right, here's all the things that are important. I need to make sure that I'm doing all those things, and I need to make sure I'm focusing and selling and convincing them that I'm going to be the best guy at those things.
Yeah. But the industry, it's in the industry, it's no secret that you now have, the word is out, right? That insurance agents and property managers and all these things, that you should make relationships with those people so that you can.
People realize that long before I ever.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, but I'm saying especially now, like especially with you and other folks that talk about it, like it's definitely no secret, right? I think what's funny, and I know that inside the Restoration Referral System, there's other pieces to this. It's not like it's just we just talked about that. Obviously, there's other things that we deliver there. But I think what you said, which is really, really, really crucial for people to hear, is like, which I love that however you said it, which is like, take the action and review the results and analyze it and go back and I think what's funny about it is that anybody, including folks that are even in my business, like I've been guilty of it at times, like where you know the right answer, to go and build those relationships, to go do that, and still there's times where it's like it's a bit of not necessarily intimidation, but it's like, oh, I'll push it off, I'll go do something something else with my time, or go knock a residential.
I don't have time,
or I don't have time.
Yeah, you sat in your car for an hour and a half in between those 2 appointments.
Yep. Yeah. You have the time, right? No one can has all this incredible allotted amount of time. If you do, then you should be probably looking at your productivity and being more productive. But nobody has the extra time. I mean, most of us in this industry, obviously with systems and processes and all the things that we talk about, it's certainly improved, but there's still it's the industry, it's trades, it's busy, it's a lot of moving parts, and so it's funny you say that, because I think the number one takeaway there is like, if you're in a position where you're like, I know that I need to go talk to insurance agents, and I know I've heard from either Matt or heard from other people, it's like, and I'm in storm restoration work, like taking that action is like, I mean, that is the biggest barrier of entry. It's just taking the action.
I think so many people in roofing, they come into it, they're hired on as a salesperson. They're told, hey, go out and knock doors. They're told, like, hey, run these leads or whatever. And again, like, nothing wrong with those things, but they're immediate satisfaction. Right. And so, like, I can go sell a roof today. Sure. And versus like, I'm going to go invest time. I probably won't sell a roof today, but I'll probably sell 10 this year because of that time that I spent. And it really isn't that much of a lag. Like, you can start getting stuff happening pretty quickly, but so few people will invest in time and do it well. And I think, with what we're doing, we've found ways to be very effective at like converting those relationships. If you're just going in there to an agent and throwing up on them, hey, we're A+ rated with Better Business Bureau, triple platinum preferred, like, they've heard it 6 times that day. And so, like, it's not going to be effective. It's not going to be a good investment. So those are kind of the other nuances.
So let's talk about that just a little bit. Obviously, we don't want to give away all the secrets, but like, but just in terms of kind of hitting on that a little bit more, like in terms of follow-up process and how you go about things in your world, like obviously there's strategies that are gift boxes or try to do right, right. Everybody does. Everybody's like putting down, thank you cards for the well, hey, long story.
Here's some Starbucks.
Here's some Starbucks gift card you get. Okay.
Yeah.
The point that I'm making is like, give us just a little bit. Again, I'm not asking for all those sauce of Restoration Referral System, but just an example where I'm going in, I'm meeting with an agent and trying to really establish rapport. Like, is there kind of a couple of tips you can give us around that?
Yeah, for sure. So I think dropping by unannounced. We always call the agent first. We schedule a meeting with them before we go. You're not going to get a meeting with everybody that you call. We figured out call scripts that are pretty effective. Sure. Still not going to be everybody. Yeah. But you know that when you go to meet with them, they've got the time set aside. They're expecting you. They're going to be at the office for that meeting, so you're going to be a lot more efficient there. So that's kind of groundwork. But to get that appointment, and then more importantly, to convert them in that appointment, you need to have some kind of value that you're bringing to the table, something that you're differentiating yourself. And so we've got on our website, like, if anybody wants to check out, we've got a free training, what we call our 6 factors. So check out that free training. You can
give them the link.
All that stuff.
What's the link?
RestorationReferralSystem.com, and then just click on training, free training. We'll sign up and get that. But really, we focus on like, okay, what does this agent actually want? And a lot of the things your competitors are going to be doing, some of them, and most of them aren't going to be talking about it. They're not going to be talking about having integrity. They're not going to be talking about. They may talk about the quality of work that they do, sure. But usually it's, hey, we do quality work. Like, what does that mean? You have to define it. Like, give it facets. Make it like what I love about this, like, define quality for them and make it look exactly like your company. So it's really hard for anybody else to match that definition to provide. But more importantly than all those customer service, communication, all that sort of stuff is bringing them customers. Help them keep the customers that they have right now by doing the right thing, by showing transparency, all that sort of stuff, but bring them customers. And if you are asking the right questions of your customers, you're being consistent on it, you can find those opportunities literally every single day. Most people wait until every once in a while they fall in their lap. The customer's like, hey, do you know an agent? Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll refer you over to somebody. If you're intentional about finding that opportunity, asking people, we've got our T-shirts or whatever. We've got clients that have gotten customers at the gym, that see their T-shirt, get in conversation with them about their insurance agent, and they're referring them to me. Well, now instead of, hey, give me a roof worth $15,000 and I'll give you a box of donuts or a Starbucks gift card. Feels a little out of space, right?
Well, those are several gold nuggets in there for sure. So hopefully we still have something left for the end. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break for our sponsors here.
Job Nimbus is a fully customizable back office solution.
Track leads, jobs, tasks from one easy-to-use software.
And with the largest ecosystem of integrated partners, if we don't do it, we have a friend who does.
Learn how the #1 back office system in roofing
can help you be efficient, be organized, be professional, and be profitable.
Are you sick of what passes for leads these days? What's wrong with share leads? Or Facebook ad leads? Not much, unless you want to be the lowest bidder on every job. I wear a lot of hats, but search engine marketing and website, I've passed off to a Google specialized team.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you again to our presenting sponsor, Job Nimbus. Go check them out at jobnimbus.com, industry-leading CRM. A great partner of ours, as well as Hook Agency. Hook Agency is an incredible SEO PPC company. Tim Brown and the team over there, great people. Go check them out at hookagency.com. Again, appreciate you for sponsoring the show. So back to this, we've got this conversation of lead capture, right? Inside of your system that you are out there, sharing with the world, with contractors and all. That lead capture, that ability to be able to capitalize and systematize that. If you want to just kind of share a little bit about what some of the tips and tricks you have around that and improving that process.
So I think, a lot of the things that we do, we teach on are kind of incremental gains, right? Like if I do this, I'm going to be 5% better. If I do this, I'm going to be 10% better. And they stack up. Yeah. I think one of the things that, so many fail at is like they work up to get all this momentum and then it drops off because their engagement process sucks. Whether it's you don't answer your phone when they call you, whether it's it says schedule on your website and I click on schedule and it takes me to a contact. And I've talked with homeowners, I've talked with insurance agents, and what mostly people are doing, if they don't have a guy that's like, this is my roofer, I don't care about anything else, but they're like, let me find who the best roofer is in town. All right, I think it looks like this guy. They go to their form, they're going to fill out that form, they're going to wait for about 5 seconds and go, you know what, maybe this guy will call me back, maybe he won't. Let me go back to Google and find the next guy.
Yep.
And soon they've filled out 3-5 of these forms. And then somebody calls them back. Even 5 minutes later, they're already like, you're dealing with competition. And so one of the areas that you can not lose everything you've built up is by using a schedule. And we've got one that we've built. There's 100 of them out there. There's so many different types of, whether it's like calendar.
That's what I was
popular one.
You can
Acuity scheduling.
Yeah.
You can book me is what I used to use years ago. There's all these different ways that you can make it convenient for people to go, when is this guy available? I want Tuesday at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it's confirmed. They're going to get a text message or email or both, or whatever. And, it's locked in on your schedule. And so I think that customer experience, more often that customer is going to go, you know what, it's handled. Matt's going to be here Tuesday at 3 o'clock. I'm going to go back to watching the football game instead of looking up roofers. Right? That's really what's happening. And
we talk about it a lot. It's like, how much is the industry going to become like Amazonified, where it's like you just, buy your roof online or whatever. I don't know how.
Yeah, you don't even have to.
Where you just it's there, right? I know we got not to plug, my boy, but we got Joe Hoffman that's doing the roof thing, and there's always this move to do that, but in the scheduling thing, that's that's to me. We do it in our professional lives as consultants, right? We have that set up. You book the call, it syncs with the calendar. But it's so funny because, what you just said right there, I know for my business, I'm not doing that right now, which is kind of unique. Not that it's super unique. I just mean it's you don't think about those things, right? That you're in a position where, as a roofing contractor, and obviously I'm going to ask you a question around what happens when you're just a one-man band, right? Or you're in a position where, but my question is, well, let me first say that's an interesting concept because I think about that all the time. It's like, how do you differentiate yourself where you can get that confirmation that, hey, we're doing business together, right? Or at least we're the group that you're choosing at this point to move forward.
Yeah, we've got it locked in. There's no like, all right, now I need to call
correct,
you, get a hold of you.
Correct,
Yeah.
and that's a good tip. So anybody listen to that, obviously that's a piece to take away for sure. But the question I had was like, where, obviously you can do that at any point, right? Whether you're a solopreneur in it or if you have a massive business, but like, let's just talk to the people that are out there that are living that solopreneur life for a second. I know that you've probably been there before. I've been there, right? Where you're running around a million miles an hour, you don't have people in place, you maybe have an admin, maybe don't. You're trying to get this thing off the ground, right? How do you, when you're talking about that Calendly stuff or all these other things, like is there a time appropriation for that? I mean, obviously it'd be convenient for you to say, hey, we could just have someone booked on my calendar all day when you're responsible for all your builds or all your, just the day to day. I'm saying, like, is there an ideal time frame to start implementing that, like, or a certain scale?
So the way that I kind of did this stuff, I was the solopreneur. I was selling, I was ordering materials, I was scheduling my crews, I was overseeing quality control, setting up ladders for inspectors, like doing everything soup to nuts.
Yeah.
And what you can do is, one, you can schedule in those things too. Yeah, I know I've got a build going on. I'm going to schedule my build. I'm going to schedule some time for myself to pay attention to it. And then also, like, I have a good crew that can handle a lot of stuff for me. Order my materials to make sure that I don't have to go run over to the supply house at 4 o'clock. All that type of stuff. But really what I've seen some of my clients do when they're like, like whether it's solopreneur or just sales guy, is put like 3 appointments on your schedule. A 9:30, noon, and a 2:30, something like that. An hour and a half long. If you do 3 a day, even if you sell 2 of those 3 a day, you're killing it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
As a salesperson. Sure. And you've got time in between. You've got time, And so I really liked. I would typically do 4 or 5 a day. And when you have that, what's really unique is before I did like a scheduling type thing, it was anytime my phone rang, hey, can you come look at a roof? Yeah, sure. When do you want me out? And now I'm out there when my son has basketball practice. Sorry, son, I missed that. Right now I'm out there when we had our church picnic. My wife's going to, the kids were talking, because I didn't have any boundaries. It was just like, I've got to sell a roof. That's when they told me they wanted me. Versus when you're like, hey, here's my schedule. You pick anything that you want. Well, the only things that are on here are times that work for me.
Sure.
So, I block off the church picnic or whatever. And that was just a game changer for me to be able to respect the family time and still be really efficient in my day. Like when I'm working, I'm not sitting in my truck, watching the cars go by for an hour in between appointments. Like I'm on to the next one, the next one.
Yep.
And that way when you're working, you're getting stuff done, but then you're still you don't have to just work all the time. So people will find the time.
Sure. And I don't. I think for me, obviously, well, I say it's obvious. I'm sure there's some folks watching the show that are like, "What's Calendly?" Or what? I mean, people. So sometimes they just don't even know the tools exist.
I feel like these days most people have maybe not used one, but engaged with someone.
Sure, engaged with one. Yeah. And so, and I would say not to necessarily have to go down this productivity conversation, but I think what you said, and I was hitting at it more from for one, I'll self-admit our business isn't doing that, so that's something we can probably implement right away, right? Because we have a team, we have it, right? Yeah. We have the call to actions of making the call, and we got someone answering the phone, you know what I mean? But in terms of being able to set up appointments like that, that's super cool. But in terms of your productivity as someone that's watching the show right now, if you're not thinking, and I'm from the corporate background. I know your background is
not very corporate.
Not corporate, but very, you've been on the consulting side now and you understand some of those things. But for folks that are just, watching a show, grew up in the trades, blue collar, making things happen, selling roofs, right? One of the things that we teach inside of TRA, and I'm sure Matt does a lot of that coaching as well and instruction as well, is understanding that you can control that. Like you said, you can control blocking off your schedule and having all of your calendars linking together. Even if you got 3 calendars at once, they can all all sync. And like, one thing you have to take away here, and some of you might be watching going, yeah, we already know this, great, you can tune this part out. But like, if you're hearing this and you're like, wow, I don't do that, I think the big thing is what we're trying to say here is, if anything, get your calendar situated and get yourself in a position where you set those boundaries and be very, very intentional about how you are spending that day-to-day time. And even if that means setting up, blocks. As a consultant, I know you do the same thing. You do 6-8 hours of Zoom calls in a day, and your brain would be fried, right? You got to have some time to disengage. You got to have some time to be able to work on other things, right? And for your case, someone listening, watching the show, saying, hey, I have a roofing business, I'm solopreneuring it, or I've got a small team, or whatever. Again, not that that's always the case. We have clients that are 10, 15, 20 million in revenue that are still struggling with the same type of issues with productivity and managing their time well and all that. That's a key point of this segment here, is making sure that you understand that ultimately you are in control of that. And I think what we do in the industry is we always fall to this place where it's like the customer or the prospect that they're leading the way, right? And you're just constantly putting fires out. And it's so funny when we talk about that inside of coaching. Like, it's like, no, listen, man, or gal, like you can set yourself up where you're more intentional about that, and not. Obviously, there's parts of this industry that are chaotic and a lot of moving parts, but you can still set those time blocks out and be disciplined like that. So I love that you said that. That's really cool. So like on the productivity conversation, it wasn't like we were really trying to go there, but the lead capture almost ties into like how being efficient, you know what I mean? Like being efficient with, like what you were saying, be efficient with the way that you line out your appointments over the course of the day, and making sure that you're, obviously it's not just about selling, it's also about fulfilling. And if you're in a position where you're an entrepreneur, then you gotta do it all. You gotta lead gen it and sell it and build it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, so that much more you need to be efficient with your time. Like, one of the things you've probably seen, like consulting with other roofing companies, you get to see like what people are doing well, what people are struggling with.
Yep.
Like, you get to like borrow all the best things, right? And so I know I've learned a tremendous amount from talking to different companies that learned stuff over 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
But like I had a guy the other day, I asked him, like, would you rather have one job that's $100,000 it's going to take you 5 days to build, or 5 jobs that are $10,000 or $20,000 that are going to take you 1 day each, so it's the same time. And he was like, oh, well, I've never been in a situation where I had to choose. And it was like, you're in a situation where you're in a situation where you are choosing, whether you know it or not, whether you are paying attention to it or not, like you are absolutely choosing.
Yeah.
And so
I don't think the answer to that really though is like what you say. I know I like jumped to the conclusion the same way. I'm like, I'd rather be working that one deal than
I would
5 deals.
I'd rather do the 5.
And that's fine.
Which is fine.
That's
Yeah,
what
but
I'm saying.
like figure out what you want.
Correct.
And go get that.
Correct. And that's what I was gonna say is like I feel that way because of some of the things like that I've experienced. It's just like it's the grind of that. And not that it's always the case. I prefer to work honestly in like high end residential as well, not just banging the doors. Like I myself, that's kind of what got me in a position where I'm in a relatively quick time today is doing unique systems and processes for sure in this industry, stuff that's coming not native to the industry, but then also is like I wasn't afraid of I wasn't implementing all the things by any means that you're probably teaching inside of the Restoration Referral System, what you do. But one thing I tell you is like not being afraid of like what you just said is exactly what I would tell myself. It's like ultimately I'm in control of whether or not I go knock the neighborhood with 17 square houses, or spend my time trying to make relationships with people that aren't going to like yield me the But and then I would focus on the high end like residential. I mean, we were doing jobs at $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 averages, and and then you tagging a commercial in there here and there. You know what I mean? Like that was where I like to play. But like you said, it's like you need to know where you like to play.
Yeah, I think one of the things that like one specialist, like figure out like this is what I'm doing, like niche down, but don't try to do everything because it's really inefficient to try to do the $10,000 jobs and the $100,000 jobs at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, but I've seen guys that are hugely successful. I go after those $15,000 claims and it's turn and burn, and they take them one day and they're efficient and they kill it.
Yeah, the process is lined out in production. Yeah, that's good, man. So let's hit a little bit more on, I guess, just to kind of, we'll start wrapping up the show here, but like, I guess just, yeah, so like, I know you guys have had Restoration Referral System for a while. Maybe adding a few more nuances, give you opportunity to kind of plug a bit, I guess. But like, what's kind of as you're innovating and trying to kind of do your thing, and I know that there's still more and more people learning the stuff that you do, that you teach, right? But like in terms of like next steps and plans and all the things that you're doing on your end, like I don't know if you want to share like kind of what's going on, like how things you don't have to get into a lot of complexity, but just like what's kind of the Restoration Referral System, or the way I know it, is it's more of a, at least, and maybe I'm talking out of turn here, but it's been a little bit of a like a consolidated, kind of like you do the work type of situation. I don't know, and then like I know we were talking the other night, we were saying like, hey, you're creating new opportunities for clients, and trying to do some legwork for whatever. So I don't know if you want to share.
Yeah. So I started Restoration Referral System. Was like, hey, let me teach you how to do this.
Yeah.
And part of the reason for that, instead of doing it for them, is like I'm going to be, like when you're talking to an insurance agent, you're making a bunch of promises. You need to be one, right? And so for a long time it was just we were teaching them. We still have that. That's still kind of the core of what we do. But we had clients that reach out to us and like, hey, can you become more involved? Like we've been doing this, it's been successful, but like let's pour gas on the fire. And so we've found a way where we can help recruit and train a business development rep for them who's there in their market, who's meeting with agents for their people. There's compensation for them. It's typically all commission model. But we're able to work on that with them, get them appointments with insurance agents, and really just automate it and make it happen for them, especially these companies that have a lot going on. And we can focus on that thing that we're really good at. So I don't really like push people towards that until they're like in the program. They're like, yes, I get this. I like this. This is what we're all about. Let's do it.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, we'll wrap the show up here and kick it back over to you. If you've got anything that in a second, I can give you a second, but kind of that gold nugget for the show, like of what you want to leave the viewers with, and kind of give them your message.
Yeah, I guess I would say two things. Is one, be very intentional about what you want to do, how you want to grow your business. And, people look at like, here's my avatar, right? Like, here's the person that I'm going after. Get really specific about that and think through the implications of like, okay, that means I'm going to be doing this many jobs. That means my crew's going to be structured and scheduled this way. Like, and maybe you'll find out, like, I think the $100,000 residential roofs are really sexy. They look cool, but are they going to take you 10 times as long as the $15,000? Sure. Figure out what you want and be intentional about that. But then I would say also figure out your lead gen. I'm reading, do a lot of reading.
Read another book. I'm reading a book.
Read another
$1
book.
Million Habits. If you haven't read it, read it. But anyway.
Yeah. Is I don't know blank of the exact title of it. It's basically about the way that you start. Start with why. That's what
there you go. Simon book.
Yeah. And really just like looking at what is the destination that I want to get to. All right, let's back into that. Like let's figure out what gets us there, doing it the right way.
Start with the end result.
Right.
Backwards.
Yeah. And so like this is what I want my company to look like. This is what I want my bottom line to look like. All right, let's figure out how we do that. And whether it's referrals from insurance agents or door knocking or whatever it is, look at that thing and see like what is actually serving us well.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, there's so much we could dive into. I know we're running on time with the show, but you just open up a can of worms that we'll just have to save for next time. All the stuff that's fun to get into, and analytics and dissecting your business. I think what you said, last thing I'll leave for the show is like when you said like and we always hear this terminology, massive action, taking massive action, and like even if you don't got it all figured out, because guess what, nobody's got it all figured out. You know what I mean? But I think the the key is like being able to test and then evaluate, retest and evaluate. You know what I mean? And being able to figure that out. I love that you said that in the show. That's pretty cool little clip there. So appreciate you guys watching this week, man. Appreciate you doing it, dude. Absolutely. Thanks for being on the show. So we'll wrap it up here. It was great to have everybody, and thanks for watching the Start Build Grow show this week. We'll catch you on the next week's episode. Thanks again, guys, and take care.